New York Congressman Gregory Meeks, the top Democrat on the House Foreign Affairs Committee, is joining us now. Congressman Meeks, thanks so much for being here. So the White House saying a decision in 2 weeks. I'm curious, have you been briefed at all on what's happening in Iran and the U.S. administration's current thinking?
I have not. I've been asking for briefings as the ranking Democrat, former chair of the committee. I've talked to some of my other colleagues. I don't know much of anyone, maybe one committee. The Intelligence Committee might have met once in that regards, but there's been nothing that has come to me, although almost on a continuous basis, every day, I'm asking for a classified meeting.
What are your biggest concerns and what are your top questions you want answered?
Well, number one, I think that it's important for members of Congress and us to follow the Constitution that says we have a decision-making process and whether or not American troops will go on the ground and things of that nature. So my questions is to try to find out or have verified some of the things that we hear in the media. What do we know? How far away is Iran from having a nuclear weapon? What's going on? How much ammunition that each side may have? So we need to know. We've got to make sure that Israel has what it needs to defend itself. What's taking place with reference to negotiations and who's negotiating and where are we in that phase so that we can make sure that in that regards, diplomacy does have a role. What's happening with reference to Americans that are in Israel and getting them out of Israel and the safety of those Americans to get them back home? Is there a plan to do that? And what is that plan for Americans in the region? What is conversations that have taken place with others in the region? It's important for what the end game may be. And so where is Saudi Arabia? Where is Jordan? Where is Egypt, who are now recognizes Israel's right to exist? What role are they playing? What happens in the region? And what is the efficiency of the B-2 bomber? This is something that has never been utilized before. So will it work? Will it won't work? What collateral damage there may be? So there's a whole series of questions that I would have in regards to what's taking place.
You point out just how layered the situation is, how complex it is, and how many different pieces of the puzzle need to be fit and put into place in order to understand what is the best path forward. You talked about the lack of clarity when it comes to the intelligence over how far along Iran's nuclear program is. We are being told that the CIA director has said privately that Iran is viewed as being very close to possessing a nuclear weapon. In the meantime, we've also heard the official U.S. assessment has gone unchanged since March, when we heard the director of national intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, testify that Tehran has not decided to rush toward building a nuclear weapon. So which is it?
That's what we need to know.
Who should the president be listening to?
We need to know, and we need to have those facts. I've been in Congress now long enough to remember and had to vote on whether or not we would go to war in Iraq and Afghanistan. At that time, under President George W. Bush, we were able to get information. I was able to go to the Pentagon. I was able to talk to generals. Individuals, the Secretary of State came before our committee and testified, both in public and in private, so that we can try to adduce what's taking place and what the facts are on the ground. We've got zero of that right now, and I think that that's a danger for all of us. That's why the Constitution says that Congress has the authority to determine when we go to war and when we don't. But we've got to get the information. We should not just rely upon one person because, look, and one reason that I think that we are there is his judgment to pull out of the JCPOA, the previous agreement. I don't think we would be where we are now if we had still been in that agreement with our friends and allies, and even some who are not, like China and Russia at that particular time that was part of that agreement. So there's a lot to unfold and a lot to look at, and we just can't rely upon just one person. Members of Congress should have access to this information.
Well, we are reporting that the DNI, Tulsi Gabbard, is sidelined right now. We also have this reporting that the president is not routinely engaging with his defense secretary over this type of matter, important military, matters involving potential strikes in the region. We've got a lot of military assets and 40,000 U.S. troops in the Middle East region as well. Are you concerned? What concerns do you have over who is and isn't part of some of these conversations?
I have a lot of concerns. Even prior to going in, there's been concerns about the judgment of the president. So I can't take it for granted that the president is giving us the facts. we hear, as you've reported over and over again, he just says in 2 weeks, in 2 weeks, in 2 weeks. But there, with the House of Representatives or the Congress being an equal branch of government, we don't just accept the word of the president. We make sure that we are talking to the president and then make our determination based upon access to the executive branch and the information therein. That is lacking now, and it's problematic. And I would hope that during this 2 week period of time, if it's indeed 2 weeks, because as you have reported, we've heard this several times from the president, 2 weeks, 2 weeks, 2 weeks on a whole host of issues. But I would hope this time that we would have that dialogue and conversation. It's a problem for me when you look at the number of diplomats that are no longer there. The State Department that has been downgraded. Experts that we would have had negotiating us know this situation backwards and forwards, of which I think could have given the president very good advice. Are they there? Who they're talking to? I have a job to do so that I can report to the American people in the districts, the district that I represent, but the American people as a whole, as the ranking Democrat on this committee.
Let me ask you, while I have you, and pivot to a different subject matter. The New York Times is reporting that you and 7 other House Democrats are demanding answers from DHS Secretary Kristi Noem in a letter being sent today, accusing immigration officials of preventing Congress from access to a detention facility in Lower Manhattan. You talk about your oversight responsibilities. So what more can you tell us about this?
Well, here again, look, this is what my concern is about this administration. He's continuously tried to go around Congress and block Congress from doing its constitutionally responsible duties. We are and have oversight and should be let into these facilities without notice, because if you have notice, then they can try to, fix something up that's not actual. The way that you find out what actually is taking place, and we've done this under several administrations, Democrat and Republican previously, you're able to walk in and make an assessment of what is and what is not taking place. When you are prevented from doing your job and prevented from, doing what the Constitution says you should be doing, then it makes you feel that there is something going on that should not be going on. And we look at the process right now with a president who says he doesn't want to abide by court decisions and does not want Congress to play the appropriate role and responsibility that it has as given by the Constitution is problematic.
Just quickly, if you will, if the administration keeps stonewalling in this fashion, what more can you do? Well,
again, we've got to do what we have done. We've got to go to the courts and say and sue. Unfortunately, we have to do that. We have to continually bring it up to the American people as well, because I think that brings some contention. And I would hope, though, that my Republican colleagues, because I think that would make a difference, if they stood up also, because what we don't want is the responsibilities that the House and the Senate has to be whisked away and all given to the president, because then you're dealing with a king and not a president of the United States of America.
Well, thank you so much, Congressman Gregory Meeks. We appreciate you coming in, making your case and providing your insights.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks.